We're live. All right. Hello, every people. This is Sweetie Bloom, and I am here to present to you the first episode of Bloom's Books, my online book club that I am starting as of now. Today, we're going to be talking about The 99th Bride, which is a book written by Catherine Ferris King, who is our guest today. Can you say hi, Kat?
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah, no problem. You got my internet name down and everything. I'm training her already. So today we're going to be talking about the new book. Now, I did put on Twitter, as well as that horrible live stream that I did on my own channel, that we would be reading this, though I'm going to assume that most people probably haven't done the assigned reading, so this is going to be spoiler light. So we're going to talk about things in the book, but maybe we'll avoid mentioning that Snape killed Dumbledore, but, the equivalent of this book. But we're still going to be talking a lot about the book, so spoiler light if you haven't read it. If you haven't done the assigned reading, there's a link in the description below to buy it on Amazon. You can buy it in paperback, as I have it, or you can buy a Kindle version if you're a plebeian. I mean, if that's more your thing. And because, of course, my stream last time was horrifying, we have here to help me the Looney Turtle, who's going to be my helper and tech guy. You want to say hi, Looney?
Hello, everyone. I'm just in the background, silently watching.
We appreciate, because he hasn't done the assigned reading either. But he's going to keep an eye out on you guys and shoot us with your questions when you have them. But for now, I think we can just start the discussion. So we could do a little blurb about the book, but I figure since we have the author here, did you want to tell everybody what your book is about?
Yes, I would. My book, The 99th Bride, is a subversive feminist fantasy young adult take on the Arabian Nights. What this means is this is a book suitable for middle school or high school age readers, or anyone older than that. And it looks at the fairy tale of Scheherazade, the woman who saved her life by telling marvelous stories. Naturally, she's an archetype that many writers love and look up to. And I look at it another time. I look at it from the point of view of Scheherazade's younger sister, who's named Dunyazad, or Dunya in my version. And in this version, Dunya is originally slated to marry the Sultan first, but Scheherazade, or Zara, steps in and starts telling stories. So Dunyazad has a reprieve of time in which she starts trying to figure things out and explore the city that she has found herself living in. That's the elevator pitch, you might say.
All right, excellent. And to answer the question in the chat, yes, you may ask questions, and we'll be letting you know the answers to them in a bit. First, I want to say my own take on the book. I loved it, and I'm totally not biased. Totally not biased.
I was really worried.
No, it's really, really good. And it really becomes a page turner towards the end. I think the most of the book was pretty strong, but I was like, yeah, okay. And, I finished my chapter and I put it down. But towards the end, when the V8 juice hit the fan, I'm sitting there going, what happens next? There's a bit of a moment, when everything starts coming together that it really, really does compel things. And so those were, I'd really liked how things progressed towards the end. There were some moments. There was one moment that I think was a little confusing logistics-wise. Towards the beginning, I think there was a time where I wasn't sure whether Dunya was supposed to be visible or not, because it says that one of the wives looks at her, and then the next moment she was eavesdropping. But other than that, solid work, especially for a first novel. It's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No bias. I had one question. This is from as someone who may be a little ignorant. I noticed that you went back and forth between saying God and Allah, and I wanted you to sort of elaborate on that.
That's a good question. Of course, Allah is the Arabic translation for God. Some writers write with the assumption that their work is a translation from another source, like Tolkien. He wrote kind of with the idea in mind that everything in Middle-earth is a translation from a book that he has, the Red Book. I don't need to tell you this. But in my case, and perhaps this is not the best call to make, but I thought that the distinction between God and Allah was not so important to keep in to nitpick every step of the way, because Allah is the Arabic word for God, and it's and as someone raised in an Abrahamic faith context, raised Catholic.
Yep.
Sometimes I went for the immediate familiarity of the English word God. Sometimes I went for the use of the word Allah in what should be an Arabic context. That's not really a good answer, but it's the best I can do.
No, that's perfectly fine. When I noticed it was going sort of back and forth, I was like, is there, like, I just thought there, I was like, is there a reason? Am I ignorant? But yeah, no, that sounds about right. That, I mean, they're basically the same. There's essentially no difference.
I think I heard some religion scholars rolling over and screaming.
I know, right? Well, they can roll over and scream. It's but yeah, I like that a lot. I do have one very important question. It's a bit of a spoiler, but I have to ask. Munir, am I pronouncing his name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I may have to ask for pronunciation questions for some of the names of the characters. Do he and Dunya get together or what?
That's an excellent question.
I need to know.
I'm glad you're so passionate about this. When the Book Smugglers, my estimable publishers, an independent international press, when they approached me to write to turn my short story, The 99th Bride, into a novel, I had a few ideas, and the ideas actually were for a sequel to the short story that I wrote. And the sequel involved a tall, handsome guy named Munir. And yes, I intended him from the start to be Dunya's love interest, but my wonderful editor didn't like him so much.
Really?
It's competing ships. Competing ships is part of it.
But between for him versus Upalu?
Yes. Got it in one. It's not that many characters, but it was actually kind of funny reading her notes. So she got very into it. I love her a lot, and I respect her a lot. So I ended up, I may not have accomplished exactly what I wanted to accomplish with Munir as well as I would have liked. My original goal, as I've stated elsewhere, Dunya is inspired by Sophie from the Hayao Miyazaki movie Howl's Moving Castle. Not the Diana Wynne Jones book, The Howl's Moving Castle, but Miyazaki's version. And then Munir is kind of supposed to be based on Howl. Not quite as confident or flamboyant, God bless him.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But conflict. I'm not feeling this. I think I'll run away to the edge of things until things simmer down, because they sure will eventually, right? And my editor thought of him as kind of lily-livered, lackluster, and Apollo is right there! Right there! You got everything going on there. And when you put it like that, so that's why I left. I decided ultimately it was stronger to leave it a little more ambiguous. That the three of them will continue going forward and Dunya will have a strong bond with each of them, and then it's up to the reader to decide. Well, sometimes that can work.
Yeah, I was more in the Munir camp, even though I saw it with Apollo too. I felt like, well, for one thing, we were introduced to Munir earlier, and for another, when we first meet Upalu, she's already going through heartbreak. So I feel like when we first meet her, she's already emotionally unavailable. She's getting over her previous relationship. So I was in the Munir camp. there's roving my flag over here, but you know.
It's a good camp, not gonna lie.
Although I find it funny that she says she doesn't like Munir because he's pretty much the only male character in this book that's a good character. He's you know, a lot of the other, if not pretty much every other male in this book is at least a little bit of a douche. But I think it's a nice subversion. You know, it's as you say, it's a, you know, feminist book, and it's got a lot of subversions of different tropes and archetypes that you might expect from something like this. Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
All right. Minor technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. We're taking notes. All right. Better?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Looney.
Yes. And Kat, you can get you're a little low now too. Like, I mean, yeah, a little bit away. Right there.
Don't mind us. Technical difficulties. All right.
I'm just making sure they're nice and scented, because I know somebody in the comments going to be like, they don't look right. So.
No, we appreciate.
Yes. Anyways,
For
continue.
What it's worth, I did my best to make the backdrop more symmetrical. There's not a lot I could do. I'm living in a dorm.
Yeah.
Where are you living these days? No, I guess this is probably a topic for not during a stream.
Yeah. Oh, I live at this address.
I live in this address. Come find me. One thing I feel I should let the viewers know, as Catherine, as we were talking about raised Catholic. Not only were we raised Catholic, we went to Catholic school together, Catholic high school, and I gotta confess, Catherine is the reason I got into MLP.
Oh.
I don't remember if you know, but you were the one who showed me the newest generation of My Little Pony. So
I do remember, actually. If memory serves, it was the Art of the Dress from early
on. Yeah, this was 5-6 years ago or something like that. Yeah, Kat and I have been friends for 15 years at this point.
It all started with a poetry reading where I brought a book of Tolkien poems.
That's
and you
right.
came in and were like, oh, there you are, like you expected it to be there, and picked it up and started reading from it. I was like, I was going to read that poem. What the hell?
That's right. Man, I almost forgot.
I'm not going to let you forget.
Okay, we've got a question for you, Kat. What gave you inspiration to write the book?
The original inspiration is a few years old now. So I was in college, and I guess I was alone in my dorm room, and I got an idea for a scene with from the Arabian Nights, but with a twist. I'm not going to tell you what that twist was, because that gives away everything about the book. But I will tell you it was entirely an iambic pentameter, like Shakespeare, because that's how I roll. And there were no supernatural elements in it at all. So I wrote this out, wrote it over, and I was like, hey, it's not bad. Then I put it away, promptly forgot about it. Fast forward a few years later, I'm in London visiting, I must have been visiting with my friend who was studying at Oxford at the time, and I meet up with some internet friends. Internet friends are a wonderful resource, and one of them says, oh, this independent press, the Book Smugglers, are holding a call for short stories that are subversive fairy tales. I'm like, I have something that kind of fits that bill. I love subversive fairy tales. Let's give this a shot. So I dug up this notebook, transcribed the scene exactly as I had written it, and then I thought, well, I can't do a whole story in iambic pentameter. And now I'm like, why couldn't I? I started working on it in prose, and I was like, shall I go with supernatural elements or no supernatural elements? Shall I tell it from this point of view or that one? Shall I start here or start a little later? I attacked it from many different angles until I found one that worked. And the version that I thought works best was starting with Dunya, a character like Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle, and a little bit in the tradition of Nick, what's his name from The Great Gatsby, Nick,
what's his name?
Old Sport. What is it? Hathaway?
Caraway sounds right. I could be wrong. It's been so long since I've read that book.
Old Sport. Nick Carraway is an extreme example of a narrator who is passive in the story. Dunya is not as passive, but she kind of starts out that way. And so I wrote a short story that was kind of long for a short story, finished it up, supernatural elements intact, sent it off to the book smugglers, and to my great delight, they accepted it. And then they turned it, they published it, and then early 2016, yes, they contacted me asking me if I wanted to turn it into a novel, and I said yes I do. I've got some wonderful ideas. There's this very handsome guy who's actually going to be shot down, and now here we are, and the novel was published in June, which is very pleasing.
Yes, indeed. It was very of the excite. I remembered actually something I wanted to ask you that I forgot about. Because this may seem like a strange question, but I think my internet viewers will appreciate it. Cover art by Reiko Murakami.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the cover art? How did you get in contact with the artist? What was your vision versus what you got, and all that?
I am very happy to talk about the cover art. I'm so happy with it.
You were over the moon.
I read a lot of books. There are a lot of books with lousy covers. And I did not contact the artist. The book smugglers did. She has done previous work with the book smugglers, including the cover of the book The Keeper of the Dawn, which I bought because the cover was so beautiful. And Diana L. Gunn is the author of that one. And I don't know if they have a contract or if she's just an artist that they like to work with. She was born in Japan. She's lived some time in America. I don't know whether she lives in Japan or America now, but I got to meet her in February when I spoke on the Book Smugglers panel of Women in Science Fiction at the bookstore Books Are Magic in Brooklyn. You can find a video of it on YouTube. And oh yes, not YouTube, Facebook.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, YouTube. That's our medium.
It's no, I think it's Facebook. I think I have it saved in my posts. So I got to meet Miss Murakami in person, tell her how much I appreciated the cover, and she said she enjoyed the story. It was very gratifying. I had minimal input on that. As I had minimal input when the Book Smugglers commissioned a cover for the short story. I prefer Miss Murakami's cover. And
is the other cover the other one you see on Amazon? It's kind of, I haven't looked at it in great detail, but it's got a lot of color, kind of stained glass looking. Yeah.
Stained glass, that's a really good word. And yes, I didn't have any input. I don't know if that's
I'll pull up the other cover in a second here.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because I can do that.
I don't know if it's... Oh dear. What was the name of the artist who did that cover?
I don't know.
I think her name is Jacqueline something. I think she's Canadian. I feel like a terrible person. It's a lovely image. You'll see it in a minute.
Yes.
When Looney finds it.
Well, I found it. I already have it. It's just
okay.
I gotta set up the stage. Cancel.
Yes, I actually liked Miss Murakami's cover so much that I changed some details of the story to accommodate it. Like in my original draft. Yes, Miss Murakami's cover.
No, but are you talking about the headscarf?
Yes.
Yeah.
I originally wanted it to be green, and then when I saw the cover art, I was like, It's gonna be blue.
It is blue now.
Yes. And yeah, blue is probably a better choice anyway. All the time. And,
I was wondering if, because I saw that it correlated with the cover, but first thought in my head, because Catholic, are thinking of a blue headscarf. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I admire Miss Murakami deeply, and I follow her on Twitter. Most of her art is very cool and surreal and a little creepy. So
Right.
any of your followers who might like that might dig her oeuvre.
Yeah, absolutely. Link us in the comments. Yeah, no, I really like I mean, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but it's a pretty good cover. I'm a fan. I am more of a fan of this cover than the other one. Not that I should show bias, but I do.
Yeah. Here's the main cover that they've been referring to with the it's the one I've shown a lot. And then there's saying screwed up. Okay. And then here is the alternate version as well. Just so everybody can see it.
Hooray. All right. Well, we have a question in the comments that said, "Did Looney read the book?" To which the answer is no.
No.
He did not do the assigned reading.
I'm the tech guy. I had to homework in another regard.
I appreciate it, Looney. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh dear. And
Alright.
cool.
Let's see. Trying to see. Does anybody else have any questions regarding the book? Hopefully, rather than my YouTube nonsense.
I have something I'd like to bring up.
Go ahead.
So, I've been published before a short story of mine called The Queen of Sheba in the collection The Djinn Falls in Love, which includes Neil Gaiman and Nnedi Okorafor. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but we're both in. All three of us are in there, and many other authors. And so when I wrote the short story The Queen of Sheba, I wanted to write about a djinn who lives in Los Angeles. And I looked up I was like, djinn live a really long time. What's one of the oldest languages I can think of that's from that appropriate region? Sanskrit. So her name is Opal. Opal in Sanskrit is Upalu. So I kept that in mind. Like, she's held on to that name all these years. It's just that now she's in 1950s America in Los Angeles. And she's a detective, which is its own form of granting wishes. And so she appears in the short story The Queen of Sheba, which is not actually about the Queen of Sheba. And then when I wrote when I started adapting The 99th Bride into a novel, I thought, djinn are a good element in the Arabian Nights. I should have a djinn. Wait a minute. And it was one of those lovely moments where you don't exactly plan it, but two forces collide and you can't ignore it. And you're like, yeah. So the Upalu in the 99th Bride is the same as Opal in the Queen of Sheba, just separated by several centuries.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Cool.
She is. Upalu in the 99th Bride is much younger, much more sensitive, not as wise, but I like her a lot. Who knows? She might show up again in another work.
I mean, she may as well. Alrighty. I really liked the characters. As you say, there aren't too many, which is good for me. Sometimes when a book has too many characters, I'm like, who's that again? So I'm like that. It's like, these are the characters, and it makes sense too, that she'd have sort of a limited number of people who spend a lot of time with her.
Yeah, Guy Gabriel Kay, an author I like a lot, opens all of his books with a dramatis personae. But so you can refer back to it and it will tell you, oh, this person is a member of this family. This is the region they're in. So you can these are their relations to each other. It doesn't give a lot of
kind of
detail.
like the Sailor Moon mangas did that.
Yes. In the trouble was, if a minor character pops up and you're like, this person's interesting. I hope we see more of them. Check the dramatis personae. Oh, they're not here. They're not very important.
Wow. Good point. Yeah. No, I feel like I was going to say something. Oh yeah. I really like the way that it progresses, and it doesn't give. It leaves a lot to the reader's imagination. I feel about how like certain elements kind of went down. I like the idea. Oh yeah, here's the thing. Upalu, again, this is not really much of a spoiler because once you meet the character, this is this is blatantly said. Now, Jinn being associated with fire, being basically creatures entirely of fire, is that something you created, or is that part of the mythology I just don't know about?
That's part of the mythology.
Okay, because I was like, that makes sense, but I'm not entirely sure if that, I didn't know how much of it is your creation, how much of it is the mythology. And on that topic, merfolk.
Oh, yes.
So I noticed a very clear, and it's even mentioned in the book, correlation with catfish. So did you want to expand on how you developed that community?
Well, it's as a writer, I come up with various ideas, and then I kind of hang on to them. I develop them with the hope that it'll maybe start planning a story, but sometimes the story doesn't go anywhere, but I remember the ideas and bring them in later. And in this case, I was thinking about different story, different universe. A city that has people of various races, various, in this case, magical creatures and humans living alongside one another. So you'd have like harpies on the street, on the rooftops, humans and other beings at the street level, and then mermaids in the waters. And I was like, what kind of mermaids could adapt well to city living? Because that's a lot of pollution going on. And I was like, mermaids that are based on a fish that can eat a lot of unsavory stuff. Like, I don't know. I discovered the word detritivorous, eating garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what catfish do, unless I'm much mistaken.
No, that's more or less it. Yeah, and I like that. And I even got that like from the mustaches you mentioned they had, and I'm sort of like, and it made sense too, because I was worried when the merfolk first showed up. I was like, they're gonna start. This is gonna become a Captain Planet episode. It's like they're gonna be complaining about the pollution in the water, but instead they're like, woohoo, pollution.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
I mean, I'm a woman. I'm a woman, sweetie. I
couldn't tell.
I read lots of goofy, like, fantasy books starring all kinds of magical creatures, and like mermaids, they sparkle, they swim around, they splash, they look really pretty, they have great hair. So the fun thing about catfish mermaids is it's like everything about them is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
They're just, God love them, because they've got the faces and smells only a mother could love. I don't know, that makes it a really fun idea to play with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I loved it. And it makes sense too. And I also like that they implied that they're a certain type of mermaid and there are other merfolk that are probably a little closer to your ideal and stuff like that. Like there are different like breeds almost of different merfolk. And I like that. And I like that it hints on it and doesn't go too in depth. It's like, make up your own headcanon. That's your job.
Yeah, thank you. That's something that the writer Garth Nix is really good at doing in his Old Kingdom series. So I'm glad to hear, like, just little soul of mystery, and you can be like, wow, and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it starts thinking, well, if there are catfish mer people, then what about if it had this type of aquatic life, but stuff like that. I'm not sure. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss about your book?
Well, a few things. For one, there is another young adult feminist take on the Arabian Nights called The Wrath of the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I haven't read it, so I can't make any sort of pronouncement on it, except that I consider Renee Ahdieh my rival. She doesn't know this yet. She doesn't know yet.
Well, she'll find out when,
Yes. Her book has been printed a couple of times. Like, it has 2 different covers in America, so that's like a sign it's doing well. So good for her. A rising tide lifts all boats. I should really get around to reading that book. Anyway, hold on a sec. I really should have removed this earlier. A major influencer of mine is Tamara Pierce. Don't you love how I just had that book on hand?
Just so happens.
Yep. Well, this is book 2 in the Circle Opens Quartet, and Tamara Pierce she does many things really well as an author. One of her best traits is that she can make fantasy worlds that feel lived in. I especially love her Circle of Magic books for this. Like, Tortall is fine. It's good. There are good moments in it, but Emelon's better. Fight me on this. Actually, don't.
I wouldn't dare.
Yeah.
If there's anything I remember from high school, if Catherine believes something, you just...
Anyway, so Tamara Pierce creates cities and societies. They mimic the ones in our own, but in our own world, but they're very diverse. There's you see all these strata of society. It's like this is set in a town called Timor, and I feel like I could walk around the streets of it. It's fabulous, and she does amazing things with magic too. So I love that. And some of my favorite authors who can twist fairy tales are, I love Catherynne M. Valenti's The Orphan's Tales, which is like another take on the Arabian Nights. Definitely not YA though. Like, Renee Ahdieh is my rival because she and I are on the same level. Catherynne M. Valenti is like the hermit on the mountaintop. Like, I aspire to that one day. There's also Mercedes Lackey's The Tales of the 500 Kingdoms, which are adult, not adult, but not YA either. Kind of romance, but some really good world building in a world where fairy godmothers are kind of like the mafia of these 500 fairy tale kingdoms, because there's a tradition at work that insists that when a story starts, it is played out. And the tradition doesn't care if stories end happily or sadly. It just wants them to happen. So the fairy godmothers are at work making sure there's as many happy endings to go around as possible. Oh. And an author that I always think should get a lot more love is Donna Jo Napoli. She wrote Cyrena, which is one of my favorite books, and it takes possibly the weirdest perspective ever on the Trojan War from the point of view of this one siren sitting on an island that's near Troy. She's just watching the ships go by. And then one day a man washes up. A man! And she also does a remarkable take on Beauty and the Beast called Beast. That is, it starts off in Renaissance Persia. And it's, she's so good. So good. I think you'd like her. Oh man, you know me. I can go on and on about books that I love, but I thought that those were some recommended further reading.
Absolutely. Everybody give them a look. Someone in the comments mentioned Wheel of Time books. Are you familiar with them? I myself am not.
I know that they're a very popular, long-standing series, but I haven't read any of the books.
Yeah, I'm afraid I haven't either. Yeah. My apologies, the person in the comments, but maybe give that a look too, because they say it sounds a lot like what you get with that one. Okay. It is a question technically for you, although it's my viewers, so they're going to go back to Pony. But they want to know what our favorite and least favorite of the main sixes. Do you even remember who the main six are at this point?
Insult me, sweetie play. I actually was ashamed. Yesterday, I forgot I was talking Harry Potter, and I mixed up the Black and the Malfoy families. And I was like,
I know they're related, but jeez.
Anyway, the thing is, each of the main six is great in her own way, in her own special way. I relate a lot to Twilight Sparkle, like being very the reader, driven to learn and master her magic, but also understanding how important friendship is. I also do have a little soft spot for the glamour queen Rarity. She's so much fun to watch. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'd have to give them my top 2 billing.
Oh, my apologies. I did misread that question. They said main 6 excluded. They want to know our favorite and least favorite ponies. Do you remember many background ponies?
That's a harder question. But I will do my best.
Okay.
I will do my best. Hold on. Let me see. Well, it's a tricky question because sometimes fans forget that you can dislike, like, I don't dislike this and such character because they're like morally bad. They're just boring. And likewise, this character is, I wouldn't want to hang out with them in real life, but they're funny.
Right.
So, do they have to be ponies?
The question said pony, but I figure may as well go for.
I didn't like Gilda the Griffin from that one episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was kind of just there to stir up trouble, and I was kind of not feeling that. A favorite background pony. Hold on. I will remember. Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm going to give a shout out. A dear friend of mine who makes plushies that really loves Octavia.
Oh yeah, Octavia's
She's
great.
got a great look going on. The hair, the cutie mark. So and that whole eye roll thing, like #iconic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Gee, it's harder for me. Do Pear Butter and Bright Mac count? Because I love them, and Catherine probably has no idea who I'm talking about.
Are those Applejack's parents?
They're Applejack's parents.
All right.
Did you see the perfect pair? Because I know I was like, see the perfect pair. Did you end up seeing it?
But I understand that it means a lot to you, and that for that I am happy.
It was great. So you don't need the context because for context for the chat, Kat is not nearly as up to date on the show as I am. But I was like, you don't need context for that episode. You don't need like to see all of the seasons before it to get context for it. And it's just a great standalone episode. And it's my fave. So they're my faves. Least favorite background. What was that guy's name? Luna, you may have to help me out with this one. He was the manager for Rara.
The manager? I don't know his name either.
And Looney to Google.
I would never cheat. Seven Gallop?
Yeah. Sure.
Sven Gallop?
Sven Gallop, yeah.
Yes.
He's a douchebag.
The worst.
He's meant to be, but he's not even like for me, he wasn't even entertainingly a douchebag, you know, like as much as people rag on Prince Blue Blood, I kind of find him entertaining because of how bad he was. Like he was a complete parody of that, like all that, and so it was kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
Sven Gallop, yeah. So Sven Gallop, he was supposed to be like the villainous douchebag, but I'm just like, but you're not even having fun with it, you know? You're not even going all out. You're just a villainous douchebag, and it's just like, man, I'm not a fan. All right. Anybody have any questions to the book, or questions for either of us? Or let's try and focus on Kat. She's the one that you guys don't talk to nearly as much. I'm around on Twitter. You talk to me all the time.
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Ah, true, Ravenclaw. I'm a Hufflepuff. I think most of our friends are Ravenclaw, aren't they?
It's kind of skewed. We do have that one Slytherin friend, which is highly amusing.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm a turtle.
Turtle
Very
house,
good
yeah.
who you are.
I don't have to choose a house. I'm cooler without you.
But yeah, it's like most of our friends, like when Pottermore came out, of course, everybody took the test, and most of our friends were Ravenclaw, and I'm sitting here like, Hufflepuff pride! Hufflepuff is best house.
It is. It's a very good house. I'm still weirded out by the Wandwood quiz. Like, how accurate it ends up describing everyone who touches it.
Yeah, every time you look up the Wandwood and you're like, that's creepy. Like it's like a horoscope that gets you a little too right. You're kind of creeped out. Like I was Willow Wand. It's like Willow Wand happens to be the wand of the healer, and they don't usually have pretty low self-esteem and blah blah blah. I'm like, stop reading my mind. It's not fair. It's creepy.
Dogwood, a wand that refuses to do nonverbal spells, and it's often very, very noisy. But for partnered with someone with great scope for enchantment and fun, I'm like,
right? It was actually to me more interesting when Pottermore came out. I was more interested in people's Wandwoods than I was their house. I was like, oh, I'm Ravenclaw. I don't care. What's your Wandwood?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh.
All right, here's one. What is your favorite and least favorite Disney movie? I'm going to let you answer first because I can't choose between my children.
It's hard. You kind of have to divide it into eras.
Yeah.
And even then, it's really hard.
And even then, yeah.
Well, I was just discussing this with a pal the other night. Talking about films that came out in the last decade. I personally really love Frozen, but I acknowledge that Tangled is a better constructed movie than Frozen is. Mm-hmm. And personally, I think Wreck-It Ralph is better constructed than either of them. And Wreck-It Ralph also has a very, very dear place in my heart. Also, The Rescuers Down Under needs a lot more love than it gets.
It does, yeah.
Least favorite, I was also thinking of Hunchback of Notre Dame. You gotta give it props for... No. Let me finish. It's ambitious. It, tries. And even if it doesn't always succeed, it is trying new things, which is cool. Least favorite...
Okay, I thought you were saying Hunchback was your least favorite. I was going to be scandalized.
No, I love Esmeralda. I love her to pieces. She's a really well-rounded character.
Oh, yeah, I love her.
I don't know. Disney has put out a few bad eggs, but I haven't seen them all. To one of my dearest friends, I'm sorry, but if I can go the rest of my life without seeing Treasure Planet, I think I'll be okay.
I can't hate you for that answer. I'd say the least favorite Disney movie for me is Home on the Range.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, you're lucky. I only saw it once. I couldn't see it again.
Oh, actually, Brother Bear. That one's not great either.
That one's not great. It's one of those, it's better than the worst ones, but it's nowhere near any of their best work, you know?
I hear you.
Yeah. I can't have a favorite. There are just so many that I love, and I love them for different reasons, you know?
Exactly.
I love Fantasia. I love Hunchback. I love so many of them.
Yeah. Have you heard about the Hunchback live action adaptation? This is a little tangent.
No.
Okay, I'll drop the tangent.
Don't touch my people. They're already touching Lion King. It's already.
Nothing is sacred anymore.
Nothing is sacred.
They plagiarized the Beauty and the Beast and sold it for spare parts.
Oh, that was awful. That was.
I was on a plane, and the person across the aisle and up ahead was watching it. And I was like, this. I couldn't tear my eyes away. I was like, this is like a train wreck. And I know we've seen the movie in theaters. It's so bad.
It's so bad. Yeah, there's only maybe one thing I like about the live action movie, but otherwise I'm like, no. It's all horrible. It's far more bad than good. Anyway.
But I gotta say, with things like The Jungle Book, did you like The Jungle Book?
I did like The Jungle Book. I'm still a purist. I still like the animated film, but I did like the live action film. I can't hate it. I can't hate it.
Okay. All right. I personally liked it. Okay. Disney tangent.
Disney tangent, yeah.
We could be talking about this for hours.
We could, and we have. You should see, when our friends get together, we do not shut up. Do you remember that one year? I swear this happened. I may be fabricating a memory, but I swear we went to Soup Plantation when the restaurant opened. They kicked us out after the restaurant closed, and then we went to a 24-hour IHOP to continue talking for like the rest of the morning.
Honestly, that sounds like us. Mm-hmm.
Yep. But walking as Louis? Oh,
right.
Walking as Louis in yeah, that was bad.
I like this cover up. I want to be like you. It's gonna beat.
No, I wasn't a fan. That to me was the worst part of the movie. I'm like, can we move on? So, does anybody have any other questions about The 99th Bride or any questions for the author? Anybody? Let's see who's got here.
How much thought did you put into the world that your character's in?
A decent amount of thought. I could probably have done more.
Like, are there some things that you weren't able to fit into the book that you, thought of as, oh, this is going to be in the world, but it's kind of not, that you weren't able to use it in the book itself?
Yes, actually, there was an idea with a description to Saudi Aramco World, which is an excellent magazine for many, many years. And somewhere, actually, I don't remember the source of this thought. It was either Saudi Aramco World or the cookbook Arabesque. I don't know who wrote that cookbook. Talking about how in some part of the Arab world, cooking was seen as like a mystical art. Like, cooking was like being a philosopher. It was something you dedicated your whole soul to become a better person. And I originally thought of using that in my story for the Jinn Falls in Love, because Jinn, fire, all that. And it would have been a really nice one if I could have somehow worked it into the 99th Bride, but it didn't really work out. There wouldn't have been any place where it really fit. Okay, maybe here or there. Dang it. Don't make me second guess my book. I have no self-esteem.
No, it's great. It's great. Other than, again, there was a logistic trip up at the beginning, but otherwise it was really solid, and it really became a page turner towards the end. You know, it was really when the pieces started coming together, I was like, oh, I need to see where this is going. Oh my goodness, you know.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I highly recommend myself. And yeah, I think we can start wrapping up, unless you had anything else you wanted to discuss about the book, plugging and all that good stuff.
I feel pretty confident in what we've covered.
All right,
and
sweet.
Once again, the publishers are the Book Smugglers. They do lots of fantastic work. Their website has lots of reviews of upcoming books, and they blog frequently. And I believe they're coming out with a short story anthology, which will include the original short story version of The 99th Bride, and they have more novels in the process of coming out, so support them.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of novels coming out, are you having your publishers poking you for another one? You got anything up in the works yet, or not quite yet?
I do, as a matter of fact. I like to keep a few pots going at once. I've got a little something that's kind of sword and sorcery, high fantasy, something that's kind of urban fantasy, and then something that everybody has done in their mother, a take on Greek mythology. Madeline Miller's Kirke, or Circe, depending on how you pronounce it, did really well. So I think that Greek mythology is about to have a moment. So I want to get it. That makes me sound really mercenary, but it is.
No, it sounds great. Yeah, I think you were talking to me about that. How you were inspired by all the Greek mythology stories you were reading and wanted to do your own take on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. So hopefully we'll have you back on this show at some point.
I'd love it.
All right. So I think we can start wrapping up. For those who are still here, first of all, thank you for watching. For those who are participating in Bloom's books, the next one on our agenda is Dragon Queen, The Scarlet Rain, Book 1, written and illustrated by our own fandom's Ink Rose. This is going to be the next one we're going to cover, and we will have that stream is currently scheduled for August 17th, same book time, same book channel, and that will be the one that we're going to be covering, so I'll put that on the Twitter and all that stuff so everybody can know about it. And there's a link in the description for the Amazon link to buy your own copy. I think there's also an electronic copy. I think I have mine signed by the author, which, by the way, when I see you next month, I intend to turn this into a signed copy, Miss Thing.
You got it.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us, Catherine, to promote and talk about your new book. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. And thank you, Looney, for making sure that everything didn't blow up in the technical department. And everyone, if you haven't done the homework, read The 99th Bride. Your next homework assignment is Dragon Queen. So get on it, and I'll see you guys next month.